Itini Shemsui. Welcome, followers. The following is a reading from Air, the section entitled The Philosophy of Life Extension, from Volume 1 of VIII. In the architecton's estimation, there must be some philosophical justification for the desire to prolong the duration of one's life. Though necessarily idiosyncratic, these justifications, I imagine, lie latent in the minds of many. At the outset, it should be explicitly stated that for most people, existence is quite simply deemed preferable to non existence, notwithstanding the fact that non existence cannot be experienced in a strict sense. This point is clearly demonstrable by the fact that most people, being possessed of the capacity to end their lives at any given point, choose instead to persist. Albert Camus, that inimitable expositor of existential angst, stated gravely that there is but one truly philosophical problem, and that is suicide. Judging whether life is or is not worth living amounts to answering the fundamental question of philosophy. This fundamental question of philosophy, to live or to die, is posed perpetually by people, whether consciously or unconsciously, and the answer is overwhelmingly affirmative. We long for life, and the longer the better. If, then, most people find existence preferable to non existence, life preferable to death, it stands to reason that one would do well to actively secure longevity to the greatest extent possible. Having said this, it must be conceded that death is inevitable, ineluctable, and in an anthropomorphic vein, insatiable and inimical. Though one might accept the inevitability of death, however, this does not mean that one is at any given point resigned to one's mortal fate. Personally, I can conceive of a time in the distant future when I will be reconciled to my plight as a mere mortal, a time when I will be content with eternal repose, impervious to the unsettling intimation of imminent oblivion, utterly undaunted by death. But that time is not now, and there is no harm in forestalling fate, especially for one such as I, who happens to derive a considerable measure of joy and gratification from living. If you wish to have life, and have it more abundantly, this treatise warrants reading. No other single system will arm you with the practical knowledge needed to prolong your life and reduce the rapidity with which you age. In keeping with the declaration of the esteemed natural scientist Carl Sagan, this extraordinary claim requires extraordinary evidence. It shall be provided. For now, consider the instructive exercise. Ask a competent physician, nutritionist, or dietitian who is not privy to the architecton's work whether there is any compelling scientific evidence that maximum human lifespan can be appreciably extended. The answer is likely to be no. In the rare event that the answer is yes, ask him or her to describe that evidence. The description will likely be nebulous, vague, imprecise. To focus the interrogation of our interlocutor, ask him or her to enumerate those scientific studies that have heightened longevity in higher animals. Our respondent is almost certain to be remiss. The purpose of this hypothetical exercise is not to be haughty or supercilious. Rather, the purpose is to ascertain what ostensibly informed individuals in fields pertinent to health know about the science of life extension, or what the architecton calls gyrostasis. As the author shall strive to show in this truly transformative tractate, it is supportable to say that such a senescence suppressing science exists. The desire to lengthen one's life is not only a legitimate human longing, it is indeed attainable according to a reasonable assessment of the available experimental evidence. For health professionals to be largely ignorant of this evidence is altogether egregious, and we need not be overly apologetic about our intellectual indignation. Until we converse again, Hotep. Peace. Dr. Noon, Salva Shiva, Amun Ra.